All right, folks, Gene Gallen here with the Chatham Journal. We got things a little bit different here today. I've got to first make sure our connection's working because last couple of weeks when we've done this, we've had some issues with the Facebook feed. So I want to make sure that is working correctly. And then we will get going. And let me see where we're at. Are we going okay or not? No, it hasn't started yet. So I've got to bring this up. Here we go. Wait, got to bring this up. Thanks for your patience. There we go. Chatham's on. Should be on. Facebook. Oh, there we go. All right, it should now be kicking in. Okay. Folks, thanks for bearing with me. Let me see here. We've got that. And let me do this other one here. Yeah, I think that should be in effect right now. I do preset these before we start, but for some reason it doesn't always take. All right, let me go back here. Right, I'm going to check one other channel. I've got Coach Barry waiting to join us. As many of you know, Coach Barry is now the head basketball coach for the varsity team at Seaforth. We're going to talk a bunch. Primarily today, we're going to be talking a bunch about Chatham County High School basketball. And actually, yes, the ChathamNC feed on X looks like it's coming through, and it looks like we're finally. I think the only one we may have problems with is Facebook, and I need to make sure that is up and running correctly. All right, we are live now, finally. All right, the connection is good. Folks, here's the agenda. We got John Berry, Seaforth basketball coach. We're going to be talking Chatham County High School basketball. We're also going to look, Sheila's on vacation this week. We'll go through our own power rankings if you want us to do, but we're going to be talking about all the high schools. The other thing that we're going to talk about is realignment in the conferences. I've got the charts up on that. We're going to tackle that. It looks like there's going to be some splits, some differences, and we'll take a look at all the Chatham County schools in the different conferences. The other thing, too, don't have any idea as to next week's schedule, but we will let you know and put that information out there. So let me just hide this and let me welcome Coach John Berry right there. He's calling in from the comfort of his own vehicle. So we're all set this morning. All right. Coach, where would you like to, you know where this is where I'm going to start. I am going to start by trying to pull up. You played the other night. You folks played against Chatham Central in Bear Creek. So let me do this. I'm going to bring this up. This is in today's Chatham News and Record. It's going to pop up in just a second. There you go. Chatham Central went up against Jordan Matthews last week and won there, but you got to face them the other night. You want to go into a little bit about how that went for you? You guys did lose that game, but it went down. I think it went down to the last 3 seconds of the game. So what's your sense as to what went on in that Chatham Central versus Seaforth game?
I thought Coach Burke over at Chatham Central did a great job with his team, had them prepared, ready to play. Very gritty team. They know exactly what they want to run. They had a big game by Reed Albright. Brendan Odom came in, number 12. I can't remember his name, but he hit some big threes. Overall, I thought it was a very, very competitive game. And Chatham Central made more plays at the end, and ultimately that was the difference in the game. I thoroughly enjoyed playing them. I'm just happy that our guys over at Seaforth gave it everything they had. Didn't leave anything. They didn't leave anything on the table, and they gave it their all. And that's all you can ask for. Hopefully, as we continue to play these types of games, maybe the ball, falls in our direction, and we'll get a few of these types of games.
I can't hear. again, the typical question after a game like this is, what were you really proud of what your guys did, and what do you see as Seaforth basketball needing that? Well, what does the team need to do to improve?
I think we're on a very fast trajectory of becoming a very good team. We're doing a great job offensively, moving the ball. Defensively, I think our role-based approach, where certain guys understand what to do based upon what the ball is, what's going on with the ball. To get better, we just need more experience. We just need to have more games like this, and we need to get back to the lab or back to practice, analyze what we did wrong, and try to make certain adjustments. And if we do that and we continue to do it at the clip that we are, I think that we're definitely going to be a very competitive team. And I think it's going to be something that the Seaforth community can be proud of, as well as Chatham County. But to answer your question directly, I think the biggest thing with us is time. The more time we have to continue to work in practice and to continue to tighten up some of these loose ends and learn how to finish games, just the little details, then I think we're going to get better and better and better. And I think you've seen it already from the first game we played Carborough up to this point. I think we have a significantly different team, and I'm just hoping we can continue on this trajectory.
All right. Before we start, we were talking about, and Ashibo and I have talked about that. Ashibo does his power ranking there every week, and I think what we're seeing on the boys' side of things here in Chatham County, it's basically Seaforth, Northwood, Seaforth, and Chatham Central. And I think the big game for everyone to watch. If you were not there, you needed to be there. But the games to watch again when Chatham Central comes to play Seaforth. Seaforth goes to play Northwood. Northwood plays Seaforth, and then when let's see, Chatham Central. It's those three big games. And if you did miss the game, I've got it up on YouTube. You can watch all four quarters, especially that last quarter. You guys kept going back and forth on that one. It's kind of like, oh, we're down, we're up, we're down, we're up, and you got to set up your strategy and take your timeouts when you wanted to. And I don't think, I mean, I know the Seaforth fans left disappointed, but if you were just a basketball fan, there was a lot of stuff that you had going on that was good on both sides. You got anything else to add as to that specific game, or let's talk about you going up against Northwood in the future, because that's going to be happening sometime next month.
Well, a couple of things. Going back to the Chatham Central game, you're right. It was back and forth. It was a nip and tuck game. The game essentially stayed within that 2 to 3 point range. Either team was leading. Chatham Central did stretch a little bit, went up by 6 or 7 points, but we never gave in. We kept fighting, and the game came down to it was a 2 point game with about 10 seconds left, and we called timeout. And we had called a play, that we felt comfortable with, that we thought we would get an open look with, and we had a decision to make whether we were going to try to tie the game or whether we were going to try to win the game. And just given some of the foul trouble that we had, and given the fact that Chatham Central had a big guy at the center position where he was, altering shots, we decided we was going to just go for the win. So we had a couple of players that I felt very comfortable with shooting that three from the top of the key. We ran the play. He came up, he got the ball. By the time he was ready to shoot the ball, Brendan Odom, who had switched out on him, the tall kid, contested the shot. My guy was forced. He was forced to, to not shoot it and to try to dribble. And as he went to dribble the ball, Brendan Odom recovered, and he essentially smothered the ball. We couldn't get a shot up. Ended up being a turnover. It's 3 seconds left. We're down by 2 points still. So we immediately foul. It's 1.7 seconds left. Chatham Central goes to the free throw line, miss both. We get the rebound, but we have no more timeouts. One of my players, Noah Lewis, he gets it, throws up a heave from half court, missed the shot, game over. We'll lose the game 53-51. But there was definitely a lot of coaching, a lot of strategy that went into, that last 10, 15, 20 seconds. Great game for us. We missed some opportunities, though, going down the stretch and had we capitalized on some of those opportunities on the free throw line, that game could have also been different. But at the end of the day, we all miss free throws. We all have, different issues that we think could have went this way or that way. At the end of the day, Chatham Central should have won the game. They won the game. We made mistakes. Congratulations to those guys. And Coach Burke did a great job. As always, if I wasn't at Seaforth, I'll be rooting for all the Chatham County teams. But because I'm at Seaforth, I'm trying to compete and overcome all of the Chatham County teams because that's what my job is to do. Now, relative to, I'm sure. Go ahead. Go ahead,
No,
Gene.
I was going to get ready to ask another question, but go ahead.
Relative to Northwood, listen, they the cream of the crop right now. They're the cream of the crop. Coach Brown, the players, Chad Graves, all these guys, Cam Fowler, Chatham County for the last 7, 8 years. And until somebody beats them, they are the best. So when we start getting into the power rankings and all this other stuff, it's nothing to be discussed. Northwood has to be, at the top. And the fact that Chatham's, obviously they have to be in front of us as well. So when you look at those three, we would have to be the one at the bottom at this point, just because of just the way things have played out. But I fully expect Northwood to be extremely competitive and to be an extremely tough game for anybody that plays them. They're going to be a formidable foe. And for anybody who just think they're going to run over Northwood, I think they got another thing coming. I think, with that culture, they still have a lot of the key guys that's been a part of their success over the last 2, 3, 4 years. I fully expect them to be very tough, and they have to be the odds-on favor to win the conference.
Yeah, we're not going to forget about JM and Woods and Chatham Charter as well. But we're constant again. The reality here is in Chatham County, the three top schools right now in the power rankings are Seaforth, Chatham Central, and well, according to Coach Barry, well, I would have to say yes. Ashiba would probably agree with this as well. It's Northwood, Chatham Central, and then Seaforth. And like I said, folks, if you get a chance when those teams come up against each other, it's worth going out to see. You get to run into your friends and neighbors at the game. Plus, the kids are going at it, and it's some good basketball. I did see you at the girls' game. Did you get this chance to see any of all of the JV game between Seaforth and Chatham Central?
No, I actually got there a little bit later on. It was an interesting scenario for us because we have a routine that we like to follow on game day. We like to have a shoot around walkthrough, like to get a pregame meal. Then we like to go ahead and either rest up or go and support the other team in front of us. Given that this was a quad game, which basically means both JV teams play and both varsity teams play, and because of the limited transportation, we were going to be forced to have to come to the game early, which would have threw us out of our routine. So I was able to call in a big favor by Coach Scott Green, the varsity volleyball coach for Seaforth, and ask him, could he drop one of the buses so that we can stay back and leave at our normally scheduled time. He agreed to do it. As such, I didn't get there until the start of the varsity girls game. I did get a chance to look at the varsity girls game, not the JV games for either team.
Well, what was your assessment of the? I mean, Seaforth overpowered Chatham Central right there. I mean, defensively, uh, they they seem to keep Chatham Central away from the paint and pretty much kept them to the 3 point line. What was your assessment of that Seaforth versus Chatham Central girls game?
Yeah, I think the Seaford varsity girls team, again, just like I said about Northwood boys, I think the Seaforth varsity girls, um, they're going to be very tough for anybody to deal with, led by, Gabby White, Katie Leonard, Peyton Collins is really coming around. And then we have some new acquisitions with Camille. Listen, that team is going to be very, very, very tough to deal with. And, if a team goes in there not prepared, it could be a long day at the office. Until somebody beats them, you have to look at them as the odds-on favorite. Coach Bird doing a wonderful job going to his fourth year. With this particular team, their main goal right now is they focus in on the conference, and once the conference is dealt with, then they're looking to see how far they can go, in the state playoffs. But no, I think as again, right now, you got to look at Seaforth, definitely in Chatham County. I think from a conference standpoint, the team to keep an eye on as well is going to be that Southeast Alamance team. Even though they didn't really add too many players, they did add a freshman, but generally speaking, that team is essentially the same. They just got better and more experienced and more older. So I think that's going to be a game to watch. I think also the game is going to be Northwood. You have the backyard brawl, strong rivalry. They're going to be very, very motivated to play Seaforth. That's going to be a good game as well. But I just think the girls' Seaforth team, very strong team, very strong coaching. I love that team. I love their chances in the conference. I love their chances in the state. Go Hawks all the way.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree on the girls' team. They look strong. They're really, and the thing is, if you try to shut them down, they've got so many different options. And you mentioned several of the names. And Gabby White, if she gets that ball and decides that she wants to drive for a layup, she'll drive for a layup. I know Northwood is playing they're playing an exhibition tournament, but I also know that you folks are playing. Let me see if I've got this graphic. I think I've got it up here somewhere. You've got some. There we go. All right, let me bring that up. You've got on your schedule. It's going to take a second for it to come up. There it is. You're playing in the Sheets Varsity Holiday Tournament over at Southwest Guilford. Why don't you give us a little bit of rundown how that got set up and what are you hoping to get out of playing in that tournament?
Couple of things. This is one of these tournaments we've been participating in the last couple of years. I know last year, I'm not sure how well we did. I don't think we did super well. I know we lost a couple of games there. This year going in, same tournament, same basic teams. Greensboro, we play High Point Central that first game. I think that's going to be a good game. Last year, High Point Central was not on the upper echelon of the teams. Their record was sub 500. This year, though, I think they may have lost one or two games. They pretty hot this year. That's going to be the game that we're going to have to first deal with. For us, listen, it's just like every other game. We're going to look at the opponent, try to prepare the best we can. We're going to go out there and we're going to play real basketball. If teams think they're just going to overwhelm us, that might not happen, because I think our team is strong enough to deal with that, and it's going to force them to play the entire game. So what do I expect to get out of that? Hopefully, we're very competitive and we can win a couple of games and we can continue to grow as a unit, and then prepare us for the conference play, which is really going to kick in starting in January. And you know what? This is an important year for us. We had guys like Noah Lewis, Declan Lindquist. We got guys like Nate Emerson. All these guys, man, they really put some work in. We have Campbell Metter, Braxton Little, Brandon Sturdivant. All these guys, they've been around for at least 2-3 years. And, I take this year personal because I want to do everything I can to put them in a position where they can succeed. And you know what? I got to give them a lot of credit. They put up with a lot of things, that I do. I'm not the easiest coach. I bust their chops. I'm constantly asking them questions. What are you supposed to do? Why? Where were you supposed to be? You didn't do it, et cetera, et cetera. But all of these things is contributing to their rapid growth as a unit, so that when we go out there, they can be proud of themselves. They can be proud of the team. The Seaforth community can be proud, as well as Chatham County. So hopefully we'll continue to grow, to progress, so that we can be more and more competitive as we get into the conference play, and we'll see where the end goes.
All right. I know you also have something up, and I'm being flexible on our agenda here, but let me bring up another image. This is from the paper as well, and I want to bring it up because I want to talk a little bit about that, because you brought up. Folks may not know this, but both my boys played for Coach Berry when he was coaching at Woods, But one I want to bring up here is we're going to talk about JM, but I do want to talk about Woods Charter, and I want to talk about the fact that the coach over there um, is Leonard McNair, and I was trying to get Leonard. It was my fault that he's not here. Try to get him on this live stream with us, but you mentioned chops. You have your practices starting at 6 o'clock, and I sat down with Sheba and Coach McNair a few weeks back, and he mentioned that he also has 6:30 practices at Woods, and I asked him where did he get that from, and he says, "You know where I got that from." So why don't you let folks know a little bit about your relationship with Coach McNair, and also you got something coming up tomorrow night having to do with Coach McNair. So I'm going to let you take over on this.
Well, first of all, I absolutely love Coach Leonard McNair. I go way, way back with Coach Leonard McNair, his dad, his mom. I remember when Leonard was literally a student at Northwood and he transferred over to Woods and he played for me for 3 years. And just knowing I mean, out of all the players I've ever coached, Leonard has had one of the strongest work ethics I've ever coached. I mean, he works tirelessly to prepare himself as a player, and now as a coach, he's kind of doing the same thing. Relative to those 6 o'clock in the morning practices, I love those practices because, unlike what a lot of people think, when players come in early, they may be tired initially, but once we go through the initial stretching and the initial running, we wake up, our mind is 100%. And as long as you have a solid practice that you have planned, you tend to get more done during that period of time, 6 to 7:30. And it just sets the tone, it sets the tenor, the discipline. It just works out really, really well. I do that typically once or twice per week. Back at Woods, it all started because I run basketball camps for a company called Youth Who's Basketball Camps, and on certain days, I had to run these camps, and I didn't have time to practice in the afternoon. And so by me practicing early, it worked out. The other place where I got it from, my man, Coach Ray Frederick over with the Bouncing Bulldogs, he's been running 6 o'clock practices for the last 35 years. And he brought me some statistics about how the high achievers, they wake up early, they get stuff done, they make straight A's, they're the CEOs, they're the entrepreneurs, they do all these wonderful things. So I integrated it with what we do. And that's sort of why I started at Northwood. And the crazy thing is, at Seaforth, we certainly implemented it. When I came in as the coach back May 15th, from that time, the 15th of May until October the 31st, we had 60 open gyms. And out of those 60 open gyms, we had 40 of them at 6 o'clock. And so these guys sort of understand what we're trying to do. They bought in, and that's one of the reasons why we're where we're at right now. Now, in terms of Leonard, he was one of my great players. It's from the standpoint of him coaching his team. It doesn't surprise me that over time Leonard has turned that program around. Last year, they made the state tournament for the first time in the history of the school. He has little boys believing. They look like a team. They're aggressive. They're gritty. They got guys that can put the ball in the basket, going to Levi. You have another kid, I don't know his name, but he's number 20. You have the point guard, number 1. They're just doing some really, really, really good things there. And I know a big part of it is the influence of Coach Leonard McNair. I couldn't be more prouder of Leonard, and I'm wishing nothing but the best. And I can't wait to meet and greet him tomorrow at Seaforth High School at 7 p.m., where Woods Charter squares off against the Seaforth Hawks.
Yeah, when the Sheba and I talked with him, I had brought up the possibility of you all playing against each other. So how did that come about? You had an open spot, or how? Because I don't think they're on your regular schedule, but you're going to be playing them tomorrow night at Seaforth at 7 o'clock.
So what happened was, I would say somewhere in September, I think it was September, maybe early October, we were scrambling. I'm talking about Seaforth basketball. We were scrambling to get some more games on the schedule. So I had originally reached out to Leonard, and when I Coach McNair, and when I reached out to him, he was like, "No, Coach, we filled up right now. We really can't do it. We had our max, we had our limit. I wish, we wish we could get you." And then what ended up happening was it was you, Gene Gallen, and Ashiba. Shibo, you had a conversation with Leonard, and you was like, "Hey, look, have you guys considered playing Seaforth?" And basically, Leonard couldn't do it, but he kept that thought in the back of his mind. Lo and behold, about 4 weeks ago, Leonard, Coach McNair, reached out to me. He said, "Coach, we had somebody drop out. They no longer plan us. I don't want to go a couple of weeks without having a game, et cetera, et cetera. Do you guys have a spot?" We still had one spot remaining, and that's sort of how it worked out. We just worked out the logistics in terms of what day we was going to play and whose facility was going to be at. And once it got approved by the athletic directors, it was made into it came to fruition. I have a lot of respect for Leonard, because when you compare Woods Charter to Seaforth, Woods Charter has a significantly less population at the high school level than what Seaforth has, and he still was willing to step up and play Seaforth, which goes to show that Leonard doesn't duck anything. He believes strongly in his team, and I have nothing but respect for him. And like I said before, I can't wait to see him tomorrow, to give him a big old hug and congratulate him personally about all of his accomplishments thus far.
Yeah, Sheila and I think even you last year when we were talking about it, we feel that schools that play, and again, it doesn't hurt you in your RPI ratings and in your playoff hopes, is the sense we get is coaches that play in a conference level higher than them, it's actually an advantage to the team, even if it's a loss. So, what do you see as Seaforth gaining out of this game, and what do you see as Woods gaining out of the game? Besides, the coach playing against a former student.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think from the Woods Charter standpoint, I think it's going to be great experience for them, win, lose, or draw. Um, I think it's going to make them better overall as a team. And I think it's going to prepare them even more, for some of the other teams that they got to play in their conference. Not to mention, I have nothing but love for Woods, going to Cotton Bryan, going over to Dina Floyd. Obviously, I love, Leonard McNair. Also, Amy Haygood is another one. That's my faves. I just think it's going to be a great environment where we're going to get a chance to play each other. Where there's not going to be anything malicious, on either side. It's just one of those things where we're getting in there, we're getting in, we're playing, and hopefully, we can make a tradition out of it. And next time we play them, maybe we go to Woods Charter. I think that's what Woods gets out of it. What we get out of it is experience. Because remember, this is my first year, and a lot of guys on uh, our team at Seaforth High School, they never played for me. They never played varsity basketball. And for us, the biggest thing that I'm looking for is just reps. I need more reps. I need more time for them guys to be on the floor to kind of get used to building the chemistry. And so when you put it all together, it's a win-win for both teams. Leonard gets the exposure. His team gets the great experience of playing a higher classification school, which then prepares them to play some people in their conference. Whereas so with us, I'm more interested in just getting more reps because again, we're just trying to bring these guys together. Keep in mind, we've only been together officially as a team for 6 weeks. For 6 weeks. So the more reps we get, the better we're going to be. So that's what I'm looking to get out of this. And I can't wait to get at it Friday night, 7 p.m., Seaforth High School. If you're not planning to be there, hopefully you can.
Yeah, and I'm planning to be there to shoot that game. And then the one thing I just wrote down is I think this is the first time Seaforth is playing against Wood, so I'd love to get a picture of both teams together. So we'll work on that, folks. Again, see the coach play against the coach's team play against his former players' team. So that's what's coming up tomorrow. Let's take a quick look. We're going to talk about reconferencing. Also want to thank Coach Barry, for doing this. I know Coach Little has sat down and talked with us during football season. If there's other coaches that want to join us, let us know and work things out. Again, this is just an opportunity. This is another venue to get information out to the community. We've got about 800 to 1,000 folks that watch the live stream every week. It's also an opportunity to get a SHIBO beyond just writing in the paper, because I don't know what's going to happen to print newspapers in the future, but I want a SHIBO to be ready. Hey, maybe someday Coach Barry and I will be watching him on ESPN. All right, let's do a quick, again, we saw the headline where Woods Charter beat Chatham Charter by first time by 2 points. What's your take on Chatham Charter this year?
I actually had a conversation with with Coach over at Chatham Charter, and he was saying, this is one of those years where, we have a relatively young team, and he said, just give them a little bit of time. That team is going to gel. It's going to be a really solid team moving forward. The fact that Woods Charter beat them, that's great for the program. Whether Chatham Charter is rebuilding or have newer players or younger players, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you have Woods Charter. They've always had younger players, less experienced players, and they was always in that position where they was coming out on the short end of the stick. So the fact that Woods Charter was able to do it, it is a great confidence booster, for them, and it's something to build off of. And I think that's fabulous for for Woods. But what I would caution Woods is just be careful with that next game, because if I know Coach over at Chatham Charter well, he's definitely going to try to avenge that particular loss. I know it was a tight game. I know Woods won by 2. They probably think a mistake here, a mistake there. We fixed this, we fixed that, then maybe the thing could be different. So I know he's probably steaming, wanting to get that game back. And on the flip side, I know Woods is in a euphoric mode, but it's great for Woods. Keep that momentum up, keep doing what you're doing, and I think you're going to get better and better and better.
All right, let's wrap it up on Chatham County High Schools with JM. I saw them play against Northwood again. As you mentioned, Northwood's got some, Cam Fowler's got Chad, they've got Bo. I mean, their starting 5 have been playing there for a while, and actually Coach Brown toward the end, I think in the fourth quarter, started playing a lot of his subs in that game because they were by such a lead. But JM has had good basketball teams. What's your assessment of their team this year?
They had a big loss with Brendan Odom. I mean, once he left the team, it hurt him a little bit. I'm not going to say it gutted him, but it hurt him a little bit, because I know Coach Wiley, in his mind, he figured he had him for 2 years. And if you go back to last year, he put a lot of things in place that was around Brendan Odom, and it just didn't work out. So I think this year coming up, this is one of those deals where it potentially could be a rebuilding year for him. But they still got a couple of players. They got a couple of guards. They're going to be gritty. They're going to press. They're going to be well coached. They're going to give everything they got. And at the end of the day, as coaches, you just have to work with what you got, right? Work with what you got. And as long as you can look in the mirror and you can say, you know what, we're getting better and better every single day. Like Coach Bird likes to say, get 1% better every single day. And I think that's exactly what Coach Wiley is focused in on. Let's get better 1% every single day. And over the course of a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, ask yourself this one simple question. Did your team get better, or did they get the same, or did they get worse? And as long as you can say the team incrementally got better and better and better as the year went on, that's all you can ask for. And I can assure you, me knowing Coach Wiley the way I know him, I can assure you that's exactly what's going on with Jordan Matthews.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for high school basketball. We're going to talk about realignment. But however, before we kick into that, I just want to let folks know in the Chatham News and Record again, Ashibo's on vacation this week, so I don't have all the information. I will just post quickly. If you pick up the paper, this is a screen. They do talk the fact about wrestling, both boys and girls, JMs. You can read about that in the paper. And then the other thing I'm going to bring up as well. And folks, again, I apologize. I'm just a photographer. I don't get into the nitty gritty as much as Shibo does. And then the only other thing I need to bring up here is this one right here. There's a bunch of stuff going on in swimming. and indoor track. And there, if you pick up the paper, you'll be able to see how Chatham County's first place finishes. You'll be able to see that. And we're doing well in Chatham County, both indoor track and swimming. And unfortunately, I'm not up on those sports. Ashiba's on vacation. However, we'll probably be talking about it on our next live stream. All right, what I'm going to bring up next is the realignment came out. High school OT had actually had a article or two about it. They had some concerns. I don't think we're necessarily going to touch on them. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look and the realignments as they would. This will start for next year. The 1A conference, 1A conference 2. There are some blended conferences. This one you got Chatham Central and Chatham Charter playing News Charter. News Charter will be on there. Southern Wake, Central Carolina Academy, Ascend Leadership. I think all those teams are familiar with each other. Coach, you got anything to say about this conference?
Yeah, the one that jumps out at me is the South Wake Academy. I know that's been the cream of the crop thus far in Woods Conference or what have you. The question is, are they going to continue to do what they need to do? That matchup between them and Chatham Charter long term is going to be interesting, as well as Chatham Central, because Chatham Central, listen, they're used to playing like tough teams. And when you take that team and you put them into a conference similar to what Woods has been dealing with for the last, 5-10 years, you got to look at them as probably a strong contender, just moving forward. In fact, if you look back, maybe 7 years ago, Chatham Central at one point was in Woods charter, was in the conference, and they ran through everybody. And I remember speaking to the coaches back then. They were like, "Nah, we need to get out of there because it just wasn't a lot of competition, and it didn't adequately prepare them, for the states." So they got out, and that's why they ended up in the conference they're in right now. So it looks like now it's kind of a little bit of a halfway point. You have Chatham Charter, a legitimate, and Southern Wake Academy. Those two teams. It's going to be interesting to look at how it turns out with because that's going to determine whether they're going to prepare each other, for the states moving forward.
Yeah, one of the things this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in it. One of the things the high school OT article brought up is that there are some conferences that are going to have 5 teams on them and some having 9. And the question is, if I'm a conference with the smaller amount of players, smaller number of teams, I'm going to have to fill up my schedule with other teams. And the thing is, if I'm near conferences that have 9 teams, am I going to be able to get any of them to play me? And I know North Carolina High School Athletic Association doesn't want to extend their football season. I know we're talking basketball, their football season, because already North Carolina has one of the longest high school football seasons. So there's still going to be I bet this will not be the final again. This is the first draft. All right, let me pull up the next 1A conference. And let me see where it is. Here it comes. This is the other one coming up for 1A, and this includes. It's going to come up in a second. This one is the one that Woods Charter falls into. Again, they're playing against teams like Clover Garden, Discovery Charter, Excelsior, Falls Lake, and River Mill. I know they've seen River Mill and Clover Garden before. They're all 1A school. Coach, what's your assessment of this conference?
I think this is very advantageous for Woods Charter. I think recently, they've had River Mill's number. I think Excelsior. I think that's another team that they can handle pretty well. Falls Lake has been hit or miss. They've been good some years, not so good other years, but I think they're right there with Woods. Discovery Charter, I'm not sure how good they are. And I know Clover Garden is one of those kind of teams where they hit or miss. This is great news for Woods Charter for this particular conference. And I believe as Leonard continues to develop this team, he has a real shot at perennially, being conference champions, for this conference.
Well, let me ask you this question, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but if Leonard and Woods Charter continues improving, are the players of Woods Charter going to get picked off by other teams?
You know what? It's possible. I wouldn't do it personally because my basic mentality is, we're just going to take the kids, who wants to be at Seaforth. I'm never going to recruit. And the main reason I do that route is because I'm heavy into the values, as you already know. That's why I love Michael Gallen. That's why I love Nick Gallen. That's why I love all the players, that never played college ball. I am a life coach disguised as a basketball coach. I am more interested in, you know, what are these young men going to do, once they finish with their basketball career. So for me to be like, hey, come to the school, we're gonna win 50 championships and you're gonna play all the time and we're gonna get you this and get you now. I don't do all of that. You're gonna come here, we're gonna play as a team, we're gonna be disciplined, we're gonna do things the right way. I'm a throwback. So I wouldn't do it. But you're gonna get some people who will see some success in like a Northwood or let's say a Seaforth, if it ever happens, right? Like, man, I want to play for them because they're winning. That's fine. That's what they're going to do. But just understand when you come here, we are a real team here. We're going to play as a team. Now, there has been some interesting things, with other teams in other states and other counties and what AAU, involved, et cetera, where they'll just come to a specific school to play because they have a belief that, what, either they're going to win or either they're going to, play a lot. But it would not surprise me if teams start to try to pick off other players if they sense that they're really good and they can help their ball club. I'm not going to do that at all. I'm just going to sit back and wherever the kid falls, that's where they fall. I would love to have good basketball players and love to have players who would love to come to Seaforth. But at the end of the day, my basic approach is I want to help you become the best human being you can be on and off the court. That's where I'm coming from. It's not basketball first, it's the character first and then the basketball second. And it doesn't matter who I have for me to be able to do that.
All right, let's look at the next. We're going to finish off with the conference that Seaforth is going to be, but the one we're going to look at next is we're going to take a look at the one that Northwood's going to be in. And there's again in this one there's some familiar names, and this is one of the split conferences where they're doing 3A and 4A. Now, if you notice, the interesting thing is you've got Jordan Matthews and Northwood up there. Northwood is listed as a 3-way. Jordan Matthews is listed as a 4A. Actually, if you look at the student population numbers, Seaforth's the biggest school in the county, followed by Jordan Matthews, and actually Northwood's down. They're just under 700 students, so they actually have of those three schools, they have the lowest number of students. But there you go. Eastern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in this one. Eastern Randolph, Northmore, Northwood, Carborough, Jordan Matthews, Southwestern Randolph, and Uwharrie Charter. And it was interesting. I had posted this up on our Chatham Journal Facebook page, and already had somebody comment that, hey, they were comfortable with the top 5, but they didn't really feel that Southwestern Randolph and Uwharrie Charter kind of fit in there. What's your feel on this this conference here?
I don't know a whole bunch about Southwestern Randolph and Eastern Randolph, but I do know about the other schools. And just looking at this, I think this is, again, if Northwood continues on the trajectory that they're on, not knowing about the Randolph teams, I think this is good for Northwood as well. I think they're going to be able to deal with Northmore. Right now, you got to say they're going to have an edge on Carborough. They definitely have an edge on Jordan Matthews, and I think they're going to have an edge on Uwharrie Charter as well. So really, it just comes down to those Randolph teams. So and you got 7 people there or 7 teams. I'm stunned, right, that Jordan Matthews is not, in our conference because that's a bigger school. It's right in the area. That should be one, maybe even a Carborough. I think generally speaking, if you start looking at these redistricting lines, I mean, they got teams playing teams from all over the place, going to Granville, going out to Hillsborough. They seem to be a little bit far to me, whereas though there's a couple of teams here that's within the certain radius, which makes it easy for us to get to. So I don't really understand that as much. But again, like people like to say, that's above my pay grade. Whoever's in front of us, we just have to go and deal with it and play. But I do think if locale is a consideration, they really need to look at some of these look at some of these alignments and see if they can, make some of these teams a little bit closer than than what they are.
All right, we're going to look at one last one. This is the one that Seaforth's going to be in, and you again, JM got classified as a 4A. Seaforth got classified as a 5A, and you're in a 5A Conference 1. So it's not a split conference. That video's image is going to come up in just a second. And you're in there with Cedar Ridge, Durham School of the Arts, Orange, Seaforth, South Granville, and Webb. So what's your feel on this proposed conference?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, I think it's fair. I think it's fair in terms of the competition based upon what I know right now. I think Cedar Ridge is right there with us. I think Durham School of the Arts. I think obviously I like that one. You look at Webb, I think Webb is the other one. The two teams that jump out at me is going to be the Orange team and the South Granville team. I think these guys have played some decent competition, over the years, and I think just based off of this year, they would probably be the strongest foes for us, especially Orange. I know Daryl Britt, great guy, great man. He's got those boys playing good, good ball, well coached, passionate, and then you have South Granville. That one is interesting to me is because I know recently they've merged one or two of those Granville schools into one. So a lot of that talent now is going to one school, and now they have a lot more to pick from. That's why I think that South Granville one is real interesting to me. So I think South Granville, Orange, they'll be the toughest ones. Maybe Webb, but definitely those two. And for us, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And whoever is in front of us, we're just going to prepare ourselves the best we can, go out there and compete, and let's see what happens.
All right, that's it for the Granvilles. And well, it's actually that's it for the conferences. It's going to be interesting to see how these, because I know this is not going to be permanent, but there will be changes. So we'll see how that goes. That finishes up our discussion on the conference realignment. We're about ready to get done. The one last thing I had on my note, and you and I had briefly touched on it, because I want to talk about this because you've actually known the Powell family for a while. Let's talk about Drake and how he's doing at UNC as a freshman. I think he's averaging over 20 minutes a game. Now, the team has had some issues. I've talked with Andrew Jones from Tar Heel Illustrated, and he's like, hey, they've got potential, but they just don't seem the pieces are working just the way they need to. But overall, Drake seems to be doing well and is acclimating to what's going on. What's your take as to what's been your relationship with Drake? Because Drake, I believe at one time was actually going to Woods Charter School before he went to Northwood.
Absolutely. Drake Powell played Woods basketball 6th, 7th, 8th grade under Coach Brian Matthews. And then from there, he went over to Northwood. And as they say, the rest way all the way to Chapel Hill. I just think the community here in Chapel Hill has just gotten so spoiled with winning every year that the minute something doesn't go right, everybody hair is on fire. Listen, we lost Bangkok, and we have Drake Powell, we have Ian Jackson. These are two new pieces that we're adding to the mix. It's going to take some time for them to gel. As far as the win-loss record, listen, we're playing top competition. We're not playing scrubs. These teams, Michigan State, Alabama, the team we played the other day down in Charlotte, these teams are legitimate teams that all have the possibility of going deep into the NCAA tournament. So we're playing tough teams. We can play a bunch of scrub teams, run them out the gym, and everybody would say, oh, man, we great. As far as Drake Powell, I am super proud of that young man. The way he carries himself, just a high character individual, the way he speaks with the media, his work ethic on the floor, his defense is sensational. The fact that he's willing to come in and be whatever the coach needs him to be, that defender, that spot up shooter, the person that takes on that sets the screens, the one that takes on any assignment the coach gives them. I was watching a little bit of the game the other day, and coach had him on a huge guy. He had to be at least 6'10", 250. They put Drake Powell on him. I've seen him cover guards. I've seen him box out. I've seen him rebound. I've seen him push the ball. I've seen him block somebody's shot, pin it on the backboard, grab it, outlet it, back up the court for a slam dunk. So he's just been phenomenal for me. He's what we call that glue guy. He reminds me of like almost like a Scottie Pippen, long, rangy, can play defense, can dribble the ball a little bit. He can spot up and shoot. He can play anybody from 1 to 5. I think the sky's the limit for him, and I think he has a ton of options. Hopefully, this is in my selfish way. Hopefully he stays, because I want to watch this guy for the next couple of years. But listen, his stock is going up and up and up and up and up, and you're going to have people clawing him for him to come out this year to play in the NBA. But the sky's the limit for him. For me personally, take his time, take care of your body, continue to develop physically, socially, emotionally, get your IQ together, work on that leadership. And listen, I think within a year or two, the longer he stays, I believe the higher the probability he'll be a top 1, 2, or 3 pick. That's what I believe about Drake Powell. He just needs time to continue to develop and to continue to develop all those things that I just now said. But I am super duper proud of Drake Powell. I think the sky's the limit. I think he's doing a fantastic game. And as far as everybody jumping up and down saying UNC is not this, they're not that, slow down. Call timeout. We're playing top competition. We're trying to let the team gel. Give it some time. Let's wait until we get into serious conference play, which is going to be beginning of January, and then start making some assessments. But I promise you, all those tough games that UNC have played is all going to come back to benefit that team greatly, because they would have went through the tough war. They would have went through the tough games, and they're going to learn as a group, as a unit, to be able to overcome some of the things that they've been experiencing. So I'm big on Drake Powell, and if he was a stock, I would drop tons of money on him in particular, because I know that he's going to do big things.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. And the other nice thing about it is the Booster Club in Northwood had a pancake breakfast, pancake and sausage breakfast on Saturday that the culinary students cooked up, and Drake was out there signing autographs, doing selfies and everything else for about an hour. And the thing about it is, it was just a nice event. A lot of local folks showed up for that, and it turned out to be a nice event. The other interesting thing I have seen is when we post information as to what Drake is doing on the Chatham Journal, either website or on our Facebook page, we're getting a lot of, it's actually, you can see in the algorithm, we're getting a lot of folks from outside the county paying attention to what Drake Powell is doing. So a lot of us know him, and a lot of them us are aware of him. I kind of have to agree with you. And the question is he enjoying school? Because again, he had the opportunity when he was going to Northwood to go other places. I know there were people that would have liked to see him at other places, but I think he enjoyed the school experience. The thing about Drake at Northwood is I would see him and his friends out at football games, lacrosse games, and other sports. So he enjoyed the overall high school experience. And yeah, I kind of have to agree with you again as a non-sports writer. I think another year. Look, do I think he's going to stay 4 years? No, but I think I kind of agree with you. I think another year, because one of the questions that came out in a post-game interview with him was, "Are you going to get more vocal?" And I think as he gets acclimated to being on the team and playing at a college level. You saw it at Northwood, his leadership abilities. I think you're going to see more of that as he becomes comfortable with the college game, with the team, and getting more vocal. And like you said, that I think that one where he blocked the shot, held it up against the backboard, and kicked it out, that got featured on ESPN and ACC network there for that weekend after it happened. So, we've seen him doing it at Northwood, and now we're seeing it at the college level. All right, we need to wrap it up because we're getting close to the hour. Anything else you want to say about Drake?
Yeah, yeah. So two quick things. Number one, Drake is coming into a team, an All-American, RJ Davis. No one is going to come into that environment brand new. Uh, you know, uh, you know, and try to take over the locker room, take over the team leadership. That's not going to happen. So he's properly deferring to some of the leadership that's already there. That is RJ Davis. So that's number one. Number two, I think with Drake Powder, what makes him special in my eyes is he's one of the purest guys. He didn't go where all the money was. He didn't go where where the quote unquote the red shiny object. He went to his childhood dream, which was to play for the UNC Tar Heels, and he stayed local. And he also did that with Northwood. He had other opportunities to play all over the country, but he stayed local. He was a purist. And those are the guys that's what legends are made of. And that's why one day we are going to be back at Northwood, and they're going to be hanging up his number, hanging up his name in the rafters as one of the guys in the Hall of Fame. And if he stays at UNC long enough, I think the same thing is going to happen there. And he deserves it because he's not jumping around based off NIL. He's not jumping around based on the red shiny object. He's jumping around. He's basically looking at his heart and saying, what was my dream? I'm going to stick with it. And I'm not going to be influenced by these material superficial things to make decisions. And when you get a guy like that, that tells you a lot about a man's character. Why forever, I will love Drake Powell all the way to the
Yeah, and I think that's what the folks in Chatham County have seen over the last bunch of years with both him, his family, his brother Deuce, his sister. I mean, they're all athletic and they're all good folks. So, folks, with that, we're going to wrap up. Hey, we're almost done an hour here. I want to thank the folks that have watching. I actually took a look at our numbers. We had about 142 of you stop by during your lunchtime to take a peek at that. Right now, we've got 15 of you watching, and thank you so much. But again, if you missed this, let your friends know about it. And it's on here on Facebook, and it is on YouTube, and it did go out on next. So thank you for watching that. Coach Berry, I will see you tomorrow night when you're playing up against Leonard McNair and Woods at Seaforth. Folks, thank you very much. Anything else, Coach, before we sign out? Nope, I guess that's it. All right.